Great chance here! That does it! Steve McGavin! And for the first time, Colchester United have won a major final.
Still Garcia, finally the company arrives and it's in! It's a freak out goal from Ricardo Carvalho. Richard Garcia wants the credit and the shock is on at the bridge.
And it's promotion for Colchester United. They've made it into the Championship for the first time in 69 years.
Porter, actually being held. There is Porter, and it's Becker!
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Barside, the podcast that covers everything Colchester United. I am Aaron J. A big thank you to those tuning in over on Apple, Spotify and YouTube, doing us a huge favour over there, but no bigger favour than those sharing the podcast on socials over on X, Instagram and Facebook. And it has been a disappointing week for the U's this week as the U's fell to a 2-0 defeat at home to Bromley. And over on the women's side, the U's fell to a 7-1 defeat to Hashtag. And it is a bumper episode this week. It is extra long, longer than usual. We've had a few more features added in. So enough from me. We're going to kick straight off as I was joined by U's fans, Si, Dave and Ashley to reflect on that Bromley defeat and try to pinpoint where it all went wrong. Welcome to Beyond the Barside. I'm Aaron J and it is time for the panel session, and Colchester United have fallen to a 2-0 defeat at home to Bromley. Fairly positive first half performance, not the best second half performance. It was not the best game that U's fans would have wanted to see at home at the JobServe. And I'm joined as ever by Si, Dave, and this week I'm joined by Ashley as well. How are you doing, guys?
Good, okay. Thank you.
Good. As I say, we started brightly. I mean, we began the game with good tempo and intent, and we created some promising openings. Si, do you want to talk us through the first half a little bit?
Yeah, I think we came out like we probably pretty much expected, trying to obviously on the front foot. It was very evident, I think, from pretty much minute 5 that we were going to be missing Jack Payne at number 10 role, because we seemed to have the ball quite a lot, but we just couldn't find that visional pass, that killer pass to break through their back line. And obviously having so much possession, but yet not creating the chances, they're not taking the few chances we did have, is going to come back and bite us as it did in the second half. You can't have 71% possession at home, end up losing 2-0. But if Lisby had put that target shot away that was like 4 yards out, harder to get over the bar than get in the back of the net, maybe it'd be a different game. I don't know. But I do feel with full possession, we huffed and puffed. We weren't good enough. And sadly, although we got away with it in the first half, the second half we got found wanting, and we got to put it down for bad day at the office.
Mm-hmm.
Move on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you've summarised that really, really well there. But you spoke about Jack Payne not being in the side, Dave. Samson Tavide comes in. I mean, we were expecting more tactical changes potentially due to sort of enforced injuries and fitness doubts. It turned out that Teddy and Arthur Reed were able to come in and play the full. Did they both play the full game?
Mm.
Yeah, and yes, of course, because it was Ellis that came off for Goodwin, which he seemed quite surprised by when he came off. But the only real sort of enforced change was Samson Tavide coming in for Jack Payne. What are your sort of opinions on how the U's lined up for the Bromley game?
Well, it was such a lift, wasn't it, when we saw the team sheet and Reed and Anderson both on it. I was always confident Bishop would play. But Jack Payne is such a miss. We didn't have that link. I think if he had another go at it, I'm not sure Danny would play Mbick in the 10. I think he would put Mbik further forward. I can see why he did it, because Mbik is good at holding the ball up. He's got good control, and he does, as he's shown with his play, he can get the ball down, get on the turn, and play a killer pass. He's shown he can do it. So I understand why Danny made that decision, put him there, but it seemed we seemed to lose more as a team than we gained with that. So, and to be honest, I was maybe expecting at half time that maybe Williams would come on into that 10 role, because poor old Sampson, he had a decent header. It was a good save from the keeper, but then everything he tried, there was one bit in the corner in front of the east stand. He did really well, ball down the channel. He did really well to get in front of the defender and got it under control. And the ground, our new beautiful pitch, gave up on him, and he just fell over. And it was that was a bit indicative of his afternoon, I think. And then I think I've been struggling all day to articulate how I feel about this game, because I don't think it was just an out and out shocker. It's like that we let it happen to us. We played straight into their hands, and it's like it's that sort of feeling. You know, when you get nutmegged playing football, and when that moment it happens, you think, "Oh, how have I let that happen?" I knew he was going to try that. He suckered me in, and he's completed it. And that's exactly what Bromley did. And again, we let them do it to us. We played right into their hands. We kept not just the obvious things about giving away free kicks. I mean, the free kick for the first goal, whether or not it was a shove that should put a player to the floor, I could see from the east stand, he put two hands on him. They're always going to go down. It's always going to be given. So a bit of naivety there. But the second half, we just weren't. We did exactly what they wanted us to do. We were quite ponderous in possession. We didn't take any risks, which we did a couple of times in the first half. That Lisby chance came from shifting the ball quickly and just teasing it behind them. They don't want to be turned around. They are massive, and they are good at defending in that. And if we were to do a one-word review for Bromley, it would be organised. My God, they're organised. But we didn't take enough risks. We didn't try just to get it in behind them, and just played it slowly back and forward in front of them. And sometimes I don't mind possession football, and you guys probably get it whenever the team sort of playing possession football and they're not, you'll get people all around the ground going, "Oh, get it forward." Yeah. That's not how football's played now. But sometimes you need to mix it up, take the risk. And we didn't do that. It was exactly what they wanted us to do. So that's my overriding feeling. It wasn't, it's strange. I don't feel like it was just an out and out bad performance. I just feel like Bromley did an absolute job on us.
Yeah, you certainly feel like Bromley came to do just what they did. I mean, they set out what their intentions were, and they were able to do it quite convincingly. But we've referenced that Lisby chance. Obviously, Ashley, you were commentating on the game for Colchester Hospital Radio. The ball's come across. It seemingly looks harder to miss. It was right in front of me in West State. You'd have had a fairly decent view of it as well. Were you certain that it was going to go in?
I think the ball comes across. It's a great run from behind from Lisby, first and foremost. And what a ball from Bishop. I mean, it's in that area where the keeper, do I come, do I stay? It's in that perfect area there. Lisby's obviously done well to break the offside trap, and it's almost like he's almost steadied himself from our angle. It looked like he'd steadied himself. I've seen it back, and you can clearly see that isn't the case. But he comes from behind, and it's almost like you can see it on the replay that he just can't get his foot around it or over it, and he's just made a complete hash of it. And we've seen that a few times with him this season. I think we said on the radio that he's got 5 goals this season, but it could have easily been in double figures. And you can point back to games like the Accrington game. I think there was a good chance there. I think it was the Crewe game when he went through and lashed it wide. And there's that little bit of frustration, I think, with him on his game. It's just that sometimes that end product. And we even put on radio, it seems ridiculous to say that given that he's our second top scorer. But in that instance, you've got to put them chances away.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
It felt like it was a turning point on how the game went after that. I think if we got a goal then, we were starting to get a real foothold on the game. We'd had a lot of possession, but we'd not created a lot with it. But that felt a big chance, and not taking that. Obviously, I think it was about 5-10 minutes before half time. Just felt that obviously proves to be the turning point, didn't it? Really.
Mm-hmm. And if you it's so important to get against a team like that who are really good at what they do.
Yeah,
they demonstrated yesterday. It's so important to get that first goal, because I think if we'd have got a first goal, we'd have won 2 or 3-0. They don't really. They've got the best striker in the league, but if they're chasing the game, they don't have that many weapons or ammunition to actually get to him. And so he, from where I was in East End, you could see he was slightly off balance, but he tried to go with his laces instead of just making sure, just get your contact on it, and that's something that he'll have to learn. And he's definitely improved.
Yeah,
he's clearly working on it. But so we're still. And he does everything at such speed, doesn't he? So we're still gonna, as much as he's improved, we're still gonna get that every now and then. Just unfortunately in games like this, I mean, he missed a couple against Harrogate, but we were already comfortable in the game. In games like this, it's just unfortunate. It's going to be it's easier to dwell on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think
definitely.
he was trying to go for a picture goal, almost like wanted the top of the net to bulge. It looks, because you remember Harry Anderson's goal last time out. Obviously, he took extra time, turned around goalkeeper, just basically toe punched the back of the net. That didn't look pretty, but he got a goal on the back of the net. It's almost like Lisby wanted the ball to bounce off the top of the net, bounce back, look really good.
It's funny you say
get it in there.
It's funny you say that, Si. I thought exactly the same thing, and then I thought to myself, "You are so old," because I thought exactly what you did. He's tried to go over his laces because he wants an Instagram finish or a TikTok finish rather than just getting it over the line. I did think that, but yeah, I think that shows each one of my 43 years saying that.
That's what it is. Old age, isn't it?
He's 5-6 games without a goal now as well. So I'm wondering if that's playing on his mind a bit, because obviously before that he was scoring sort of it was almost 1 and 2, wasn't it? He was getting, and he's now 5-6 without a game. I wonder if that's starting to play a little bit on his mind as well. And he's trying to be too clinical, if you like, with it.
It does. You can see it. He did in the Bristol Rovers game. That happened, didn't it? He missed a few chances. And he was starting to get frustrated. There was one where he went through, and it was clearly playing on his mind, and he tried to lay it back across, which wasn't the right option. He should have gone for goal. So yeah, that does. But again, the more this happens, the more he'll learn from it. So hopefully, otherwise, yeah, it's going to be a frustrating few years.
Absolutely, and he gets himself. Oh, sorry, Si, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just sort of change the subject a little bit. Going back to say about how we kept Mark Cheek very quiet. Both their goals came from our own indecision and bad decision making. The first one, obviously, you don't need to give a foul away on that part of the pitch. You know, just either try and recover to delay, or just let someone else come out to them and then cover their position as you defend. And then the second one, obviously, Ellis puts the tackle in, the ball comes loose, and once again, we did not follow the ball. We stopped. Cheek didn't. Obviously, they had it very, very, very easy to curl the ball into the back of the net like you from 18 yards out. It's not going to miss that. But I don't think they necessarily made their goals. I think they just took what we gave them and were like, yeah, cheers, thanks.
Does anyone think that there might be a penalty shouting for MK?
Well, I actually thought I was looking at the ref as when Cheek made contact. I was looking at the ref because I thought he was going to be giving the foul against Tucker, and if it was in the box, couldn't quite see from where I was, but it sounds like it was. I think there might have been a question for the ref to ask because he was just about to pull the trigger, and the referee might have had in his mind as to whether Tucker's actually made a genuine effort at the ball, because he could have sent him if he felt that he wasn't, sent him off and given the penalty. If he felt it wasn't a genuine attempt.
I think the change of direction gave that element of doubt for him, did it? Because the ball did change direction. Obviously, he must have got an element of contact on it for it to come back into the cheeks.
I don't know. I'm not sure he did. Aaron and Ashley, you're that side. Did he touch the ball?
I mean, from my position, we should have called on the radio. We thought penalty. We said
Yeah.
that's got to be a penalty, and then
Yeah.
the next thing you know, Cheeks bend it in the bottom corner. So it happened very quickly, obviously, but it did look from our angle. I don't know, Aaron, you're a little bit further towards the sort of being level with it, aren't you? So you might have had that better angle. I don't know.
I mean, there was definitely contact. It's just a case of how much, is the ref letting the game go and playing an advantage to try and see what happens. As you say, the direction of the ball does cast that element of doubt. So maybe they're not sure. Who knows? It's an interesting point. It'd be interesting for people to leave their comments on whether they thought it was a penalty or not. But we'll talk about the second half, Si. There was a huge shift in momentum after the break. Bromley came out of the traps and they looked to implement their game plan with sort of gusto. Really, they were really sort of going for it. I mean, how different was the second half compared to the first?
It was night and day, really. But I think a lot of that comes down to Bromley's game plan, because they obviously were very much, because we start games fast and we look to score early goals, were along the lines of, right, if we nullify them for the first half, go in goalless with the game still in our hands, come out for the second half, knowing then that the frustration will start getting to us. And with their physicality and their niggles, chipping the backs of people's legs, just pushing people around, they knew that as the frustration built, they'd be able to make more and more and more of that. And I think that's what they did successfully, they realised they'd done the first part of their plan by nullifying our attack. Jack Payne, who's been missing, has massively helped them out there. And then they just went for the psychological part of the game, whereas, right, we're not necessarily going to do anything well. We're just going to make sure you can't do what you do well. As we've spoken about before at times, when things aren't necessarily going our way, that's when we do see a bit of a bobble and a bit of a blip. I think Bromley just planned into that and just knew that they nibble, we'll give stupid fouls away, i.e. for the first goal. No, they can then swing the ball in and see what happens. So it was a change of momentum from us, but I do think a lot of that goes to Bromley and how they set out to play the game.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that first goal, Dave, you've already spoken about how silly the foul was, and you put two hands on a player and they go down, it's always going to be given. Danny mentioned it in his post-match interview that from set pieces, Bromley are the best team in the league going forward because they are a sizable team. They're well drilled.
6'5", don't they?
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous, but they've also got those set piece routines that put defences on the back foot, and it seemed like a very cheap way of sort of playing into their game plan. I mean, how frustrating was it to A, concede the free kick, and B, concede the goal off the back of it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, it's because we gave it to them. We gave them what they wanted. It's like it couldn't have been any more set up for them if they'd, the two sets of players that had a WhatsApp chat and Bromley had asked our players to do everything we did for them in their second half. So yeah, bit of naivety.
Match fixing from what you've just said there.
Yeah,
No,
a very strong accusation.
It's what you've got to do when you play Liverpool nowadays, isn't it? You've got to give them the team sheet 24 hours beforehand, or aren't slot moans.
Is that what he's moaned about today, is it? Off that back of that defeat?
I don't know. But,
sorry, I've gone off a tangent.
Yeah, should we? Yeah, it's less depressing talking about Premier League because I don't care.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, it was just it's the naivety and the fact that after that there was only really because like it's so important to go 1-0 up against teams like that. But if you go 1-0 down against them without missing your key creative player, there was an inevitability to it, and I think that's probably why he took Ellis off rather than Kane Vincent-Young, because Ellis was on a yellow.
Mm-hmm.
It was the writing seemed to be on the wall. It was 2-0. He was on a yellow. If we were without him next week as well, that would be a tough ask. And I think, and another thing, when we were playing quite sporadic at the start of the season and generally bad, is because we weren't progressing the ball. if Kane Vincent-Young passed the ball forward more than 5 times, I will be shocked. It was incredible. And the second half especially, I don't think he played the ball forward once. And it's that. Sorry, Aaron.
No, go ahead.
No, but it's just like playing into their hands. If you go back and across, which is fine, try and shift them. I've got no problem with keeping possession, but then you've got to take a chance. Got to get it in. And there was times in the first half actually, and quite early in the second half, and Bick was coming out and was in a position to receive the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And we just didn't take that. And that's what we were doing earlier on in the season as well, with Jack Payne in that position. And he was actually getting quite frustrated. I mean, he seems like quite a cool customer in Bick, but you could see him getting wound up with it because he was getting into space. And we know, and the players know, he can get on the turn. He's strong enough. He's strong enough to deal with those. If the ball's on the ground, I mean, in the air, I can't think of many players who would be able to get the better of them. But on the ground, he's strong enough to be able to take a ball and bring other players in. We just didn't use it. And like I said, we let it happen to us, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I could see the frustration in Mbic sort of coming out as the game progressed. And obviously he was in a position that may not necessarily be natural to him, obviously spending the vast majority of his time with the U's in that number 9 role. Can't speak for the roles that he's played at Charlton Athletic, but, for us, he's very much been that number 9. But the second goal, Ashley, Jack Tucker sort of cheaply loses the ball, allows, as we've all said, the best striker in League Two through to finish the goal. I mean, how frustrating was that second goal?
It was, we just had a mad sort of 4 or 5 minutes, didn't we? And it just seemed to, that's when they sucker punched us twice with the goals. And as soon as the second went in, it was game over. There was no way we were coming back into it. It was going to be difficult enough at 1-0 just to get anything out of it, the way that the second half had gone. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we called on the radio literally just before the free kick. I think Cheek had a chance, which Macy saved, and we said there's a goal in this. We don't know which way it was going to go at that point, but it felt that the momentum was with Bromley. And as soon as that first goal went in, like I say, we were on the back foot then. I think Danny alluded to it in his interview that we were then chasing it, and we just got caught, didn't we? I think we'd switched to sort of go 3 at the back. They just caught us on the break, and that was game over then, wasn't it? For as much as we huffed and puffed after that, it was Bromley had done the job on us, and I think Danny said we'd been Bromleyed.
Yeah, exactly. That was absolutely
good job.
Sorry, Ashley, go on.
Sorry, Dave. I was just going to say, we were looking at, before the game as well, just at their previous league game against MK Dons, and I think that Paul Warner alluded to it, that they had 95% of the game that they'd done right, and it was just the last sort of 20 minutes where Bromley scored 2 sort of late goals, and it was something very similar where they soaked up a lot of the pressure, a lot of the possession. They were happy to let us have that play, and then they got the goals late on, and it sounded very similar to that as well. And like you say, both said we fell into that trap, and yes, we didn't take our chances when we were on top, and then we let in 2 silly soft goals.
Yeah, definitely. I think as frustrating as it was for Colchester United, I think we can all acknowledge quite how well Bromley did. And I think if Colchester went to a side and implemented a game plan quite as well as Bromley did, we'd be talking about how well we played and implemented our game plan. So credit to Bromley, but obviously from a use perspective, I've put it out for a 1-word review. We've got a few, none of them positive. Phil went for naive. Steve went with bullied. Matt with predictable. Gavin went for boring. Jeffrey, no, I won't say that one. John went for toothless. Obviously paying homage to the multiple players we've had have their teeth knocked out this season. And Ian went for shambles, but we'll put it around for you guys to come up with your 1-word review. Si, do you want to kick us off?
Yep. As it was such a disappointing game on firework night, I'm going to go with dud.
Nice. to a theme as well. That's impressive. You are stepping your game up.
I've got to
Each
peak
week,
somewhere, haven't
side.
I? Oh, it's a low bar though, mate. So it's not hard to step up, but start low, get easy to get higher.
I think you're doing a fantastic job, mate. Dave, you've got big shoes to fill now, mate. What's your one-word review?
I'm going to say Payne, spelt Payne.
We're doing well this week. This is nice.
Oh, poor Ashley now.
Yeah, we've got some nice little double entendres. We've got themes. Ashley, I'm sorry, mate, but you've got to pull it out the bag, I'm afraid.
Well, I've already tweeted, didn't I? I tweeted you earlier, so
Oh, you did, yes.
Yeah, I've already done mine. So yeah, I'm not. I just put outdone. That was mine earlier.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. All very apt one-word reviews. Si, Dave, Ashley, it's been lovely to chat to you, and obviously we'll catch up again a little bit later as we look ahead to Walsall.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Huge thank you to Si, Dave, and Ashley there. And being a Colchester United fan is something that you sometimes celebrate, sometimes endure. And over the years, there have been lots of highs and lows. And I thought it was a really good opportunity to speak to someone who has been following the U's up and down for 40 years. It is their 40-year anniversary this weekend. And I was lucky enough to be joined by U's fan Mark to reflect on those 40 years. Hope you enjoy. Welcome back to Beyond the Barside. I'm joined by U's fan Mark, and it is a special weekend for you, Mark. Often people choose a football team when they're young and they are forced to stick with them through thick and thin throughout the years. You are, celebrating 40 years this weekend of being a Colchester United fan. And we're just going to go through some of those key moments in the 40 years. But we'll start off right at the very beginning. How did you come about being a U's fan?
It was one of those things. It's been a very natural progression for me. I kind of haven't had a choice about it, and I've been very grateful. I'm from Colchester originally. Went to my first game, we think, as like an 8-year-old at Layer Road. I think it was a 1-0 defeat to Rochdale in the old 4th division. I probably didn't care about the result. It was just great to kind of go and watch and listen to the chants, probably listening to adults swearing freely for the first time and not being sort of a little bit scared about it maybe. But yeah, going along and having just getting that bug, not really sort of worrying too much about the team I was watching in terms of where we were. It was the old, obviously, the 4th division at the time. But it was just something which I started going with my dad, going with my brother, going with my friends. And now, I've got a young daughter now, and she's asking when can we go along to our first game. So yeah, it's something which has sort of been with me, and there are two things that have kept with me throughout my life, through thick and thin. It's my family and the youth, and I'm sort of very grateful to both.
Yeah, definitely, and it's good to see that. Obviously, the next generation of youth fans within the family will be soon heading over to the JobServe Community Stadium.
Yeah,
as well.
It's really important. It's really important, for clubs of Colchester's stature in the professional ranks. You're only as strong as the community that supports you. And Colchester has obviously its biggest, or one of its biggest weaknesses is that it's so close to everywhere else. There used to be the joke about there are more Colchester postcodes in the Ipswich Town season ticket holders office than there were those from Ipswich. And obviously West Ham's very close. Tottenham's a really easy journey to get to as well. So yeah, having that sort of community, I think that go to the U's, and obviously you've only got to see the South Stand and hear the drum on a Saturday to know how strong that is.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, 40 years, it's a long time, particularly supporting a club like Colchester United, who have had highs and lows constantly throughout that time period. We'll start off on a more positive note. Which moments sort of stick out to you as the more positive ones during your 10 years supporting Colchester?
40 years nearly. But yeah, it's the biggest one is 2007. It is away at Southend. It's the Jamie Curitan hat trick.
Mhm.
It was live on Sky. I think it was a lunchtime game, and it was just. I mean, the Southend because they got I was in the Championship, and Southend were relegated that season, which obviously wasn't great for them. But we were brilliant that day. Curitan was just mercurial, and one of the things that always stick with me. It was at the time when there was a particular song in the charts going round, and the chant, I think, but the last 10 minutes of the game was just, "What's that coming over the hill? It's relegation. It's relegation," to the Southend fans. And yeah, that was probably one of my most fondest memories, apart from again going to Wembley for the FA Trophy, a win against Witton Albion, which was crazy. I always remember that for again, not so much for the game itself, which obviously we were brilliant throughout, but I remember at half time, you could not get to the bathrooms. There were just queues everywhere. So I was with my cousin. When we walked around half of Wembley, go to the Witton Albion end, and it was almost deserted. Just basically went for a quick wee, came back, watched the rest of the game. It was fantastic. But yeah, there've been so many great moments, some real heartbreaking ones as well.
Yeah.
But you sort of tend to sort of like cling on to the ones where there was a bit of glory, like Paul Abrahams hitting his golden goal winner in the cup competitions at Layer Road. I think it was against Brentford, I think possibly. But it's things like that kind of stick with you, and yeah, it's always been fantastic with the youth. Like I say, it's always a ride. You never know what you're going to get, and I think when I speak to some of my friends from where I live now, I'm kind of a little bit further away from Colchester. Their local teams are the likes of Tottenham and West Ham, and some of their problems, they're not problems. Come to a League Two club that struggles financially and sometimes on the pitch as well. People's livelihoods are at stake. Obviously, if we talk about our relegation in sort of the early 90s, that's a real problem. And I think Colchester's a real roller coaster, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. It really is a roller coaster, and obviously you've mentioned a couple of moments there that really stick out for many Hughes fans, I'm sure, and that includes a trip to Wembley, multiple trips to Wembley. It's sort of during that 90s period, Colchester seemed to enjoy going to Wembley over that
great.
sort of
Yeah,
decade
absolutely.
or so.
I mean, even the playoff final win against, Torquay, when David Gregory thankfully scuffed his penalty. I think that was the first Friday, or the only Friday night, I think, playoff final that I think at the time that had been played there. So that again, that was another great night, and it was also where we had it was the one-off white shirt that we wore as well, and I remember I've still got it. I remember buying one, but they didn't have many sizes. So it's basically like a tent on me. It's still like a tent on me now, but I've managed to sort of like keep that. But yeah, there have been some great trips to Wembley. Obviously not a particularly perfect one for the Autoglass against Carlisle, but that kind of gets pushed to one side when you've had a couple of victories there. But yes, and again, sort of speaking about Witton Albion, I remember for the double year, we'd all gone up and watched as it seemed like half of Colchester had made the journey. But a friend of mine, he had Sky Sports, and so he recorded the game for us to watch afterwards. And we didn't realise at the time that Martin O'Neill, who was manager of Wycombe at the time, obviously when he picked on goal difference, he was the guest on Sky Sports for that game. And he just had a meltdown that he couldn't believe that with Wycombe finishing on the same number of points and with one less team in the division the following season, it was almost like he was pleading with Richard Keys, why can't we get promoted? And it was almost like doubly joyous. So not only do we get to get the double, that Martin O'Neill was thoroughly put out, but he didn't do too badly for himself afterwards. So maybe it wasn't, it didn't do him much harm.
Yeah, it was certainly a baptism of fire, his early sort of managerial career going up against Roy McDonough. But he's certainly done well for himself now, and he's back in the dugout, albeit
back in the
for a
dugout with
brief
Celtic, and it's
period
unbelievable.
at Celtic. But obviously, we're talking about sort of the key moments. Those key moments don't come around out of nothing. There are managers, coaching staff, players, general personnel that sort of stay clear in the minds and hearts of many Hughes fans. Who are those players to you over those 40 years?
Well, one of them, again, just to hark back to Wycombe Wanderers, is Scott Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because of the goal he scored against Wycombe when we got promoted, but Scott Barrett was such a great character and a great goalkeeper. There's the wonderful story. I don't know the game at Layer Road, that away fans at Layer Road, they were sort of like boxed in. They couldn't really do a great deal once they were there. And I do remember being told and sort of seeing pictures that he bought coffees for some people or 2 cups of tea for people, a couple of fans behind his goal, because they said, "We can't get round. Can you help us out?" And he was like, "No problem." And that was kind of the character that he was, with that beautiful mullet of his. But of the other players, I mean, for me, my favourite youth player of all time is Mark Kinsella. Just an absolute joy to watch. I did some work briefly for a national newspaper, while I was part of their online team. Once a week we sent out a daily email, or once a week we sent out an email which became daily. And if you're ever working one night, you were able to choose a quiz question. I remember choosing the quiz question of which player who was going to play in the 2002 World Cup, had played in all 4 divisions in England and non-league football, and sort of getting my Mark Kinsella note in to make sure that people knew who he was, and loads of people got him right. He was at Charlton at the time. But yeah, Mark Kinsella, Tony English as well. He was probably my first Colchester captain that I kind of like took notice of. Obviously his brother played as well, but he was such a good footballer. I mean, on the ball as well. I mean, I always have this wonderful sort of like comparison with Tony English. I thought was always very calm, almost like had a bit of a cigar and a glass of champagne when he was on the ball. And if you go to the other side, again, one of my favourite players, Magnus Ockenguy. If you remember Magnus,
yeah, big Magnus,
absolute rock of a defender. But oh my God, whenever the ball was at his feet, I've never been more anxious in all my life. Just give it to somebody else, Magnus. Please, just give it to somebody else. Ben Williams, when we had him in goal, I mean, he wasn't really particularly well known, but then obviously his career really kicked on. And like many of the goalkeepers that we've had who have done well, they've always seemed to go to Scotland after they've kind of like joined us. We've had a few of them now, which is quite odd. Magnus, Wayne Brown, especially for the couple of seasons that we were in the Championship. People talk about experience counting for so much, and I don't think you can really put Wayne's contribution in sort of a higher light. He was an absolute colossus. I mean, even when I remember we lost, I think when Stoke beat us to put us down, the guy just never stopped. I think he may have even scored that day, but he was just an absolute colossus for us. And of kind of the current sort of like players that we have or have had recently, Sami Šmodić, who obviously we watched him come through the academy, and kind of he burst onto the scene with us and then became the player that he is now. And Teddy Bishop, I've been really impressed with.
Yeah, certainly. Teddy's really sort of come in and he's coming sort of on a rebuild, really, isn't he? He's played further up the football league pyramid.
He's far too good for us, and it shows. Yeah,
he's suffered with injuries and suffered with those sort of struggles, and he's come to a Colchester to try and reinvent himself under 2 coaches that he knows and trusts, and I think that's evident in the performances that he's put in this season. Yeah, really impressed with Teddy Bishop.
Yeah, it's not easy it's not hard rather to see why he's had so much success and longevity in the way he plays. I mean, it looks so easy when he plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, we'll look at the sort of current squad. We've looked back over the 40 years, but obviously the U's they've had a little bit of a mixed bag this season. October was really, really positive after a worrying September. I mean, what's your sort of opinion on the season so far?
Like you say, it's very much a mixed bag, but you can definitely see what Nicky and Danny Cowley are trying to do. You can definitely see that now. There's a very popular YouTube channel which is dedicated to highlighting football coaches, and when they were at Portsmouth and Huddersfield, they were featured quite a few times. And you had managers like Jose Mourinho in being the cameras get invited along to their training sessions. And I sort of took the opportunity to kind of watch some of the ones that the Cowleys did when they were at Portsmouth, and they're so intricate and they're so articulate in how they want their teams to play, and you can see that it's how they want this Colchester team to play. Then if you go back to kind of like A.D. Boothroyd, he was very much, let's get the opposition's defence facing their own goal. Let's push up territory, don't worry about possession so much. We'll worry about that when we're in the opposition's half. Whereas the Cowleys are very, they're the distinct opposite to that. The team moves forward as one, like you say, you've got that Teddy Bishop in that pivot role, or Arthur Reed, or whomever it might be, sitting there. And then we try and move forward, get the ball wide, and then obviously try and hit strikers, with sort of pace and power. So I've been really impressed with them. I've also been impressed with how they've kind of like pushed Mr. Cowling's input to the side slightly. They seem to be more on the front foot when sort of like speaking to the fans and the local community, which I think Mr. Cowling has seen that, sometimes, being seen and not heard isn't always the best kind of like avenue to go down. I think sometimes he's tried to be a little bit too kind of like a bit of a micromanager, but the Cowleys now seem to have a much more input and influence, and you can see what they did with the rebuild. The rebuild job with Lincoln was very impressive. Portsmouth and Huddersfield, they didn't have quite the same luck, but they definitely went about it in the right way. And I think there's that trust that was there. For example, when John McGreal was manager, I think people really trusted and went along with John McGreal, and I think they're doing that again. And I think that's testament, I think, to their characters and how they sort of want the game to be played. And you've only got to listen to them speak as well, but they know how to speak to the press in the same way they know how to speak to players. I've only got to listen to Andy Woodman speak about them at the weekend. Obviously, he wasn't allowed to, kind of like be there by the side of the pitch, but he's sort of, and I know he was obviously with us for a short time, but he's picked up on, how well they treated him. And I don't think that goes unnoticed. Mm-hmm. I think that some managers have also said that we're an annoying team to play against, which is great to hear. Colchester used to be such a nice, soft side to play against, and we've got a bit of steel about us now. Sometimes we are annoying, sometimes we are nasty. Sometimes we do the dirty things that need to be done, because if you're going to get out of League Two or press up into League One, unfortunately, you've got to get your hands dirty. And the Cowleys, have got so much experience in getting good teams to play good football. And I'm hoping that we'll see some positive results as we sort of kick on into sort of like December, January, February time.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I think we will as well. I think we'll see a very positive youth side, as particularly after the turn of the new year, and similar to last season. I think we'll really kick on towards the sort of mid to back end of the season. And it's interesting you said about the lack of director of football, sporting director, all of those sort of different roles that were filled prior to Danny and Nicky's arrival. They've gone, and Danny and Nicky have had a lot more autonomy over everything, the sort of the bigger picture. And I think that's been very evident in the identity that the U's have managed to sort of forge for themselves. But we've highlighted the positives, we've highlighted the trips to Wembley and the fantastic players that you've seen. But obviously, over a 40-year period, you're not going to see those highs every single season. There are going to be some low points too. And I just wondered, in your opinion, what those have been.
Thankfully, the negative aspects haven't been too many, in that they kind of affected me and I felt down. Having too many scrapes with relegation, that is just terrible. And that is probably where my worst moment as a U's fan has probably come from. I remember one season, the season had finished. We'd finished at home. I think we'd got a draw or a win to be safe, be clear. And I was in a bar in Colchester, and I always remember this. 6 or 7 U's players came into the bar celebrating that they hadn't been relegated. Mm-hmm. And there were lots of U's fans in this bar, and you've never seen an atmosphere turn so quickly. I won't name the players who came in. There was one in particular who would be ashamed of his behaviour now, sort of looking back as he walked in the door. It was as if they'd won something, and obviously they clearly hadn't. And someone went over to them and made their opinion, which basically spoke for all, was very clear. He was like, if you were at my job and you'd performed as badly as you have done all season, I probably would have got the sack. He goes, how dare you come in here and celebrate avoiding relegation. He said it just smacks, it smacks us fans in the face. We pay our money, and these players got. I think it took them completely by surprise. I think they thought they were going to come in and be celebrated as heroes, and actually the fans were like, "No, this is not right. By all means, come in, have a beer, talk to us fans. We'd love to sort of like speak to you and things like that, but don't celebrate almost being relegated, or do you know what I mean? It was really odd, and I don't know, it's always left a really strange taste in my mouth, even when I think about it. Of all the things to do, celebrate the successes, absolutely, but don't, celebrate almost being relegated as if it's like some fantastic achievement, because obviously you've not been doing something right to be in that position in the first place.
Yeah.
So I always remember that, and I thought it was quite interesting that, like I say, there was just a bar, maybe like 40 or 50 people in it, but everyone sort of like look around as if to say, "What on earth are you doing? Behave yourselves."
Yeah, definitely. It's
which is not
strange.
great. And yeah,
no, go for it. No, it's just saying it's a strange situation to be in, I'd imagine.
Yeah, really, really. And again, worst, not really the worst, but I wasn't in the country when we went to QPR and Lamano Lualua announced himself on the world stage. I found out a few days later, and it sounds really petty, I know, but I was gutted to kind of like miss out on that wave of kind of euphoria. I couldn't celebrate with anybody. Nobody knew what I was doing. I was on the other side of the planet, and sort of doing something else completely unrelated. And then I sort of like finally got hold of my emails, and someone had sent me a link, and I was like, "Oh, I think we've obviously been stuffed at Loftus Road. This is gonna." And it was the complete opposite. Lamano Lualua, lights up Loftus Road or the Coca-Cola Cup, whatever it was. I think it was a first or second leg. So missing that made me feel pretty bad, but obviously there are worse things to miss.
Yeah.
There are worse things to miss. But yeah, apart from, like I say, there's odd sort of like scrapes of relegation. Supporting the club has been brilliant. It's been really, really good to me. Like I say, started off with like the sporting youth kind of like youth setup that Tony Willoughby set up there, which was absolutely fantastic. Fortunate enough, when I was in my last year in primary school, got into the School of Excellence there as well. So I was up at the University of Essex under Roy Massey, and then didn't obviously, as you can tell, how we're speaking now, nobody knows me because I didn't become a professional footballer as lots of us hoped. But yeah, sort of went off to university and sort of like played football there, and it was quite interesting the amount of times when you kind of, "Oh, who do you support?" "Colchester." "Who?" And you'd be like, "Oh," and you didn't sort of take it personally. You sort of took it as a great challenge. "Well, I'll tell you, we play here. Have you heard of this player? Have you heard of that player?" And sort of being with supporting the youths throughout my lifetime so far has been absolutely fantastic. I would not have wished it any other way.
Amazing, yeah, and obviously I keep sort of referring to that 40-year period. It's such a testament to sort of the loyalty that someone can have towards a football club or an organisation, that they're willing to invest their time and their emotions and their efforts into that one particular group. It's
bonkers. I have no idea why
amazing.
I do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there'll be people listening to this, I hope, on their way to Walsall or maybe the night before the Walsall fixture, and they'll be sort of tallying up the maths in their mind, how long they've
100%.
been supporters, and what their favourite memories are and what their sort of less favoured memories are. And I think when you messaged to say that it was 40 years coming up, I always thought it'd be a really good interview to have, just to give people that time to reflect on their own experience as a Colchester United fan. So really appreciate that, Mark, and I look forward to chatting to you more throughout the season, because I think we've got lots more to talk about.
Honestly, it's been great just sitting down and just like you say, just putting a few notes down. I mean, we could have spoken until next week. Do you know what I mean? There's been because I don't, as you just mentioned, I don't think I properly appreciated or realised the relationship I've had with the club. Watching. I mean, like playing for them, as I said, like as a youth player, and as a referee, I refereed on Layer Road for a youth cup final, and there's always been this connection, and I've never questioned it because it's always been there. And yeah, it's one of those things that that I hope I sort of can sort of share with people. And obviously, anyone's listening who's been anywhere near sort of 40 years or beyond, take maybe sort of 5, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, just jot down a few things. You'll be amazed at what comes through your head and the kind of things you recollect, the players. I know sometimes the weird and wonderful challenges. I've got this bizarre, vivid memory of an away game at Cambridge United. Again, it was a Friday night. Carl Emberson making a incredible one-handed save, and I always remember someone just shouting across to their mate, just saying, "And you never rated Emberson." And I've got no idea why that stuck with me. Absolutely no idea why. And again, as I've mentioned, my brother, he plays golf at a golf club close to Colchester, and half of the team of the 90s are members there.
Yeah.
So whenever I sort of go and visit him, I'll kind of say, could we have a get around of golfing? And you'll go over and you'll see these players, and they're very generous with their time, and I think that they appreciate as well that time that sort of fans have spent with them, because we don't have to do it. It's their living, and I think they really do appreciate that close affinity. As I said, it's a very small club. People aren't going to necessarily stumble across Colchester, apart from obviously if you're a Swedish fan in the 80s and the train stops famously and you ask, do they have a football team? And obviously the rest is history with the Swedish supporters branch. But culture don't get stumbled across, I think, very often. So to be able to kind of like be a Colchester fan, I'm very lucky and I'm very proud. Yeah.
Amazing. That's a great way to round it off, Mark. Thank you for your time. And again, thank you for sharing your experience. It's been great. Huge thank you to Mark there. I think he really summarises what it's like to be a Colchester United fan. But of course, we look ahead to that Walsall fixture. And I was joined by Walsall fan Harley and host of the Yellow Ribbon podcast to get the opposition view ahead of the game. Welcome back to Beyond the Barside. I'm joined by one of the hosts of the Yellow Ribbon podcast and Walsall fan, Harley. How are you doing, Harley?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. So obviously it's time for the opposition view, and Colchester United will be travelling to Walsall on Saturday. It seems like things are going really, really well with Walsall sitting at the top of League Two. Just quite how well have things gone this season for you guys?
It's a bit of a funny one, really, because I don't quite understand how we are where we are, because it doesn't make a lot of sense. We've completely overhauled the squad. We've got a lot of young players in the team, some of which who kind of have no EFL experience. We've at times not played the best football, but we seem to have just managed to kind of find our way through it. We seem to have navigated the league really well, and we're somehow top of the league, which is bizarre because I honestly don't think we're the best team in the division right now. I don't think we've been the best team in the division over the course of the season, but I think it's that League Two is a bit of a cesspit, and I think we've kind of managed to rise to the top by just being consistent.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously it's a strange one, really, isn't it, for Walsall? Because obviously last year you were flying as well, and you had that sort of dip towards the end of the season that sort of took you out of contention, so to speak. Is there any sort of concern that might happen again?
From the fan perspective, absolutely, because how could you not be concerned about that happening? It's eerily similar to last year in the way that we've just got out the blocks and we're just flying again. It's the same manager. You are going to draw comparisons, but what I will say is it's largely a completely different squad. There are only 3 or 4 characters within the dressing room, who played a role last season, who were there. So I think there is that kind of element of, maybe we're a different team, and now that we've learned from last year, can we finally go and right the wrongs, as it were, and kind of put that kind of awful thing behind us, and show everybody that we are one of the best teams in this division, and we do deserve to be in League One, because that's where we should be playing our football this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Yeah, it's hard not to draw those comparisons, obviously, when you've had sort of what happened the season before. But as you've said, it's a completely different squad, bar a few players. And you mentioned earlier that you're sort of a few players in the side are sort of lacking that EFL experience, and you've got a few players in on loan that seem to be doing a fantastic job. Daniel Kanu seems to be playing quite well coming from Charlton. Who else should we really be looking for as Colchester fans as the main threat?
The main threat, it's difficult to say because I don't think we've got a team of outstanding players. We've just got a lot of decent players. I mean, Evan Weir, we signed him, I think it might have been January a couple of years ago now, or might have been the start of kind of last summer. And he didn't really feature all that much last season. It was kind of a learning year from him. We signed him from the League of Ireland, from our kind of sister club over there. But this year he's kind of stepped up massively, filled Taylor Allen's boots at left centre half, and he's been phenomenal. In the last 2 games, he's got 2 assists from pretty much exactly the same ball, just playing a long kind of through ball. Yeah, he's got those free kicks in him as well. He scored on the opening day of the season. He's been one of our kind of top performers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got a lot of players who, on their day, can really do some damage. I mean, Kanu never plays that well, but he's always there when you want him to be to knock one in. You know, you saw against Newport, he just kind of, it fell to him and he was ready to put it away. He's got a good attacker's instinct, and I think if you're a little bit sloppy defensively, he's the type of striker that'll punish you because he'll just pop up and get one. Mm-hmm. And then, if I want to cover quickly, like just the wing backs, I think the wing backs are really important to us. I mean, Connor Barrett is, in my opinion, the best right wing back in the division, possibly by some distance. I think he's absolutely fantastic, and I think if you can't stop him, you're going to have a very difficult afternoon. And then on the other side, we've got some great options, but Vinnie Harper is ridiculously quick. Mm-hmm. And I think handling pace is always difficult. So those are some of the players I'd say to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. And you've mentioned the sort of wing backs that have come into effect for you over the course of the season. I mean, are we expecting Walsall to sort of operate in a more sort of 3-5-2 type setup?
Yeah, that's typically what we've been playing the last 2 years, and even 3 years now, has been the 3-5-2. The way we don't really look to use the midfield all that much. We like to get the ball out onto the wings, get the wing backs all the way up to the pitch, and then work the ball back into the middle, looking to either get it onto the head of Aaron Presley, who's massive, or look to feed in a through ball. But yeah, we kind of tend to kind of utilize the width very much so. We're not a team that's going to dominate the ball. The stats will show you that we have the lowest possession in the division by quite a long way. I think it's like under 30% per game. We don't like the ball, but we like to defend and then quickly hit teams using our pace and width to really get at you.
Mm-hmm. And there's some experience in that back three as well with Aidan Flint sort of within the back three. I mean, how important is it to have that core defensively, to be defensively sound ahead of sort of trying to hit people on the break?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because Matt Sadler's way of and Trevella's, who are our owners, way of recruiting is very much pluck players from lower divisions or the League of Ireland who are young with a high ceiling. So a lot of our squad is quite young with a lot of potential, but we brought in Aidan Flint, mm-hmm. and he's 36 now, I believe, and he has been absolutely sensational, and he has led that defensive line because Evan Weir's still in his early 20s. On the right side of him, of Aidan, we've either got Rico Bount, who's kind of very early 20s, or Harrison Burke, who kind of similar sort of age. We don't have a lot of experience in those kind of areas, really. I mean, probably in our centre back kind of starting three, it's only one of them who's probably got more than a season under his belt of EFL football, and that is Aidan Flynn. But he's so experienced, he's so clever at being a defender at those dark arts that he can lead the back line, and he's made us so much more resolute because of how how his football brain works, because he's got those, I don't know how many games he's played, but it's in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and you can just see it on the pitch, even those little things where when the kind of attacking team will hit the ball long and you're looking for your defender just to deal with it and head it clear, he's not the type of defender who'll just head it anywhere, get it out of play. He'll have a look around. It's like the ball's moving slowly towards him. He'll have a look around. He'll pick out a player and just gently cushion it into a teammate. And it's those little things where we just keep the ball from that. And you see the younger players don't do that. That's what the experience brings. And that's one of the reasons we are where we are, is because we can soak up pressure. And he's massively important to that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that that mix of experience and sort of that high ceiling talent is really important, particularly in the lower divisions of the EFL. But we look ahead to Saturday. Obviously, you're a team that's very much in form. You're at home and you're facing a Colchester side who have been fairly inconsistent, to say the least. How do you see the game going? What are your predictions?
Well, we had a little bit of a wobble in the last kind of month or so. We kind of we started playing a little bit kind of poorly. We lost to Barrow, we lost to Cheltenham. Kind of both games, we really didn't kind of take the game by the scruff of the neck and kind of put our foot on it, and it showed. And we ended up dropping points. And then the FA Cup came at a great time for us, where we played Eastleigh and we kind of put them to bed quite convincingly, 3-0. And I think that kind of gave us a bit of a kick up the arse, to be honest, to say, look, we're better than what we've been playing the last few weeks. We need to get back to where we know we can be. And Newport was a very interesting game because 3 of the goals were rebounds. I mean, that's not to say we didn't deserve to win, because you can't score 4 goals and not deserve to win. But we were the better team. But it was a bit of an odd game. I think what to expect from Colchester is that even though we're at home, you're going to have a lot of the ball. We're going to let you into the game, but we're also going to control the game without you really realising it. And I think that's the beauty of our system, is that we let the opposition think they're in control. And just when you start to kind of settle, we'll hit you and we'll score. And then you'll have a spell on the ball and you'll start to get comfortable in the game again and start to attack, and we'll hit you again. And that's how we tend to win games, is by almost surprising teams, by just kind of, we sit back so much and kind of just absorb pressure and then just release it. I think that if you can navigate that, you might have a decent game. But we found that a lot of teams have really struggled with that, trying to just kind of get over kind of how we play.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So are you predicting a Walsall win?
I think yeah, I'm going to go for a Walsall win. We're at home. Yeah, we could do with a win back at home. It's been a little bit of time. I don't know, to be honest, because I think we always kind of we struggle sometimes against teams who maybe don't want to take the game by the scruff of the neck and have the ball. So it depends how Colchester come to play. If you want to play football, I think that's to our advantage. If you want to sit deep and kind of make us play football, that's definitely to your advantage. I think it'll be a win, but I think it depends how Colchester approach the game and how intelligently you set up against us.
Yeah, I like it. And just finally, one more thing before we go. Obviously, you contribute to the Yellow Ribbon podcast, which is the Walsall sort of fan-led podcast. Do you want to chat on that briefly?
Yeah. So me and a friend called Roberto, or Rob, as he prefers, we are both trained sports journalists, and we run the Yellow Ribbon podcast, which is, in our opinion, the best fan-led Walsall podcast. In fact, the best Walsall podcast in general. There are some other good options out there, but we think that our kind of sports journalism background offers some balanced views, and we're also kind of entertaining to listen to. We have a good laugh. We get some great guests on. We try and make it fun and engaging for the listeners, and we've got a nice kind of audience. And I think it's a type of podcast where you don't necessarily have to be a fan to listen to. It would, definitely helps, but we try not to kind of overcomplicate it. We just keep it fun and light, and we enjoy it. I think that's the main thing. And I think the same would be said for you guys. The most important thing about doing podcasts is enjoying them, and the listeners can tell.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Harley, it's been great to chat, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and you.
Cheers, mate. Huge thank you to Harley there for sharing his insights ahead of the fixture. And, the opposition view isn't the only view that we have. And I was joined again by Si, Dave and Ashley to get their views and look ahead to Saturday's game. Hope you enjoy. Welcome back to Beyond the Barside. I am joined again by Si, Dave and Ashley, and we are looking ahead to the away fixture at Walsall. The U's travel to the Midlands after a crushing defeat to Bromley. We're also potentially missing our star player in Micah Mbick. We're coming off the back of a loss, and we're not 100% sure on the fitness of a few of our players. So it's a good time to play a side like Walsall, isn't it, Dave?
Do you know what? I actually think it is. After that performance against Bromley and the way we were Bromleyed so comprehensively, I think this is a good game for us to play straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, and Bick not being there is, especially without Payne as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge blow. But Goodwin got back on the pitch, got some minutes. I think Danny would have learnt a lot about our attacking shape from Saturday. So I can see, to be honest, I think Sampson will start because I think he just wants to keep faith with him and just maybe get something. But if it's not going, I can see it not much after half time change that and Goodwin getting on the pitch and maybe giving Williams a chance after Saturday, and hopefully having a heart-to-heart with Kane Vincent-Young, asking him, why do you fear passing forward? How can we move past this?
Who's having that conversation, you or Danny?
I'll volunteer, but I think it's probably better coming from Danny, or
I don't know. Kane might respect you. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if he's listening to this. I
think if he's listened to this, he definitely wouldn't like a few of us.
He would just pass it back out of spite, which I would do too, to be fair.
To be fair, this is late in the episode, so if he's still listening, he's doing quite well.
Yeah, that's true. I do wonder what our listen through rate is.
But we just need to be more positive, and I think Walsall will let us do that. They're not going to play like Bromley.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're at home, and I think we do still have the players to do damage. We still got Lisby. We'll have Reed and Bishop back in midfield. I think they both came through the game fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we live in hope. Maybe this is the week that Sampson gets his groove back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I actually think this is a good game for us to be playing.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. And we've made this joke a few times this season on the podcast that it's a game that Colchester United potentially are on the back foot with. Hence, it will be a game that Colchester United go out and win in true Col U fashion. But Ashley, we're missing Micah Mbick. He has been selected for England under-20s duty. I'm trying to think of the last player that we had be selected for England at that point. I think it's Owen Goodman.
Yeah.
And ahead of that, I don't think there has been one since Greg Halford went to the Toulon tournament.
I thought you were going to risk the Jamie McDonnell. Ding, ding, ding. I've just done it. The Jamie McDonnell bell from last year.
Mm-hmm.
We've done actually, guys, positive for this week after the Bromley game. Congratulations. Me just saying Jamie McDonnell, I think is the first time we've said it in a few weeks. So well done us.
Yeah,
I think
if we win now, we've got to say it every week because we haven't mentioned him in a couple of weeks. We've lost 2 games in a bounce. So
it's like if you say Jamie McDonnell 3 times, a win appears like the Candy Man.
Look, say his name 3 times in the mirror, and you will spawn a defensive midfielder.
But obviously, Ashley, Micah Mbick being selected for international duty is huge for him. Just turned 19. Young lad at the very beginning of his career. That's a huge statement of intent for him and a huge sort of indicator on how well he is looked upon by those in the professional game. But it does leave, a huge void in our starting 11. Dave's alluded to Samson, Goodwin potentially coming in, but I was just curious to think, how would you replace that void? Who would you have instead of Micah and Beck?
Yeah, first and foremost, I saw one of the memes earlier, and it was one of those managers, they're celebrating, and then they suddenly realised that it's the goal's offside, and it was that realisation. We were all happy for Mbic that he got the call up, and then it was the realisation that, Christ, they'll be missing the Walsall game. So I think Neil Kelly even cheekily asked him last night on Essex afterwards if we could, he'd be going off with England on the Friday, and then he'd join up with us in Walsall on the Saturday. So I don't think that's going to happen. So, you'd naturally think that Jaden Williams would come into that 10 role. And I would agree. I would agree with Dave and say that you'd expect Samson then to start up top. I mean, we've obviously got the game on Tuesday as well in midweek against Fulham, isn't it, in the virtual trophy. So again, I'm sure there'll be quite a few changes in that, and what comes of that might determine how we go and line up at Walsall. But we're going into 2 top away games where I think we've had a combined total of about 3 wins since the turn of the century. So it's it's not going to be easy, but that would be the Colby way, wouldn't it, to go away and sort of get a couple of wins or a couple of results.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a good point that you've raised about the Fulham under-21s game. Obviously, it's going to be a game where he brings in some more of the sort of fringe players to get those minutes under their belt. And it may well be an opportunity where Samson and Goodwin get an extended period of time to show what they can do and potentially stake a claim for that starting spot on the following Saturday. So that's definitely something to be considered. But obviously, the lineup, also looking at the bench, we didn't have any named central midfielders on the bench on Saturday, which seemed quite strange, especially given that we weren't sure on Bishop and Reed's fitness. Milton Oni, Ronnie Harvey, do you see them potentially coming into the squad against Walsall?
I think Ronnie will, if he's fit, because he's had that knock. That's what's been putting him back. Why I think he wasn't in the last two squads. Obviously, again, it's noticeable he hasn't been around the squad. We've lost both games, so these things might be a coincidence, but I very much doubt it. I think it's going to be very interesting because, yes, we've lost 2 games. One's the FA Cup, so you can sort of pretty much write that off. We never do anything in the Cup. And then we've lost to Bromley. So in reality, it's 1 game out of a run of games we've done quite well in. Losing Mbic's going to be tough, but then again, why not losing for a game we're not necessarily thinking we're going to get anything out of? So there's a little bit less pressure, whoever does come in. I don't think we can bring Samson in. I just don't think he's tried different ways of getting back into form. It just hasn't worked for him. So I think it's almost time to stop trying to flog that dead horse and work out what we're going to do around that. The other issue we have got is obviously around the defence. I'm not saying we've got to make wholesale changes and drop everyone listed, but there does feel a bit of complacency coming into the back line, almost like they're realising there isn't actually much competition. So their places are quite safe. So it could be quite interesting to see if we were to mix up a little bit. If you would maybe I know obviously Dave's there about to roll his eyes, but you have got the option obviously of bringing Flanagan back in and pushing Tucker up, just because the change might put that Blurville rock up there behind in order to actually get them firing again. But I do worry that we're going to have a good enough 11 to win the game, but we're going to suffer for a lack of substitutes and finishers, as Danny calls them, to then bring the game to conclusion in a successful manner. So for me, it'd be good to win up top with Williams in the 10. They'll see Bede and Bishop behind him, and then Ronnie fit, healthy, comes on and wins the game for us later on. It's going to be interesting, but I think it's a good game to have to play around, because it's almost a bit, not a free hit, because I think it's a free hit in the league, but again, there's maybe less pressure than say we were playing a team that's more around us, so we were expecting results.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting with the back 4 as well. Obviously, we have made a few more defensive mistakes as of late. And that could, that could well be put down to complacency within that back line. Obviously, Dave, you spoke about Kane Vincent-Young sort of going forward. I thought on Saturday, defensively, that was one of the strongest games he had for Colchester.
I agree.
thought
I
he
agree
was
in that
really
respect.
solid.
There was one in the first half where it was a brilliant last-ditch challenge because he was having to cover other people. So defensively, I agree. I think he did do well.
Yeah, I think he's been really, really positive. The mistakes have sort of come from players that you wouldn't necessarily have thought would have made those errors. Obviously, Jack Tucker on Saturday.
2 weeks in a row, really. Tucker. The equaliser for MK Dons came from him to start with.
And Ellis, I believe, the week before as well, he got caught down his side a couple of times as well. But it is going to happen. Players are gonna make those errors, but potentially that's where the sort of lack of depth in our squad comes into play, because a player can make a mistake knowing full well there's no one coming in to take their place, and maybe that's why we're seeing such a good defensive display from Kane Vincent-Young, because he knows Rob Hunt is snapping at his heels to replace him if need be.
It's tough because you don't want to make players scared of making mistakes.
No.
Then that obviously goes the other way. You end up almost sort of robotic, and we're not going to express ourselves and come out of the game very well. So it's a very, very fine line that Danny's got to play in the man management side of letting players express themselves, not expecting mistakes, but understanding mistakes are gonna come at any level you play. Obviously, just more likely at League Two. But at the same time, knowing that there's only so much that can be not tolerated, but only so much that can be done before it's got to be seen to make a change. Otherwise, it does become complacency.
Yeah,
it's one change I think I can very much see happening is Flanagan coming back in. For Araujo. And we haven't actually spoken about it. We spoke about it quite a lot at the start of the season. A point on the way we just played into their hands and didn't change things up on Saturday, again, speaks to maybe a bit of a lack of leadership. And, like you said, there have been individual errors creeping in the last couple of weeks. So, I can see Flanagan coming in. And you may have noticed, I didn't roll my eyes when you started talking about Jack Tucker in midfield, because
ran out of options.
I think you've just worn me down. I think it's actually a legitimate call this week, and maybe because it didn't work with Mbic dropping in the 10, we didn't make the best use of him. Samson still isn't quite where we know he can be. Does he trust Williams enough in a match like that? Is this the week Bishop has to be pushed into the 10?
Yeah.
And if that happens, that Si's dream, or half of his dream, if Harvey's not starting, Si's dream becomes reality.
But again, the Fulham game in midweek gives you that opportunity to try a few things like that. And I'm sure, as you say, Flanagan will be integrated back into the side off the back of the last two games. They wanted him to have some minutes as well. Your captain, they want him to get some minutes, aren't they? So you can put him coming in. Maybe Alice is rested, and then we put Josh Powell in. So
that'll definitely happen. I can't see any of the midfield being risked.
No,
at all.
No,
because we're already through, aren't we?
Yeah. I think the point is top the group, don't we, to guarantee a home fixture? But
I think it's more important.
How we put it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure they'll be looking at the bigger picture there, won't they? Especially with a quick turnaround on next Saturday.
I'll be amazed if Reed or Bishop play any minutes.
Yeah.
I think we fell into that trap against MK Dons, and we've not maybe making the changes we could have done that sacrificed our league issues. So we've tried that. But
a bit different.
The only downside is
different in the FA Cup.
Yeah, but this is personal, isn't it? Because Hayden Mullins is under 21 manager for Fulham.
Yeah, and you hate Hayden Mullins, don't you?
We got to absolutely destroy him, so hopefully he loses his job.
There we go. Anyway, obviously, what will happen is we'll predict this. What will happen in the Fulham game, and this comes out after the Fulham game, and we will have been wrong. So we'll get back on track with the Walsall game. Dave, they're top of the league. They've got some players that have caused us issues in recent years. Obviously, I'm looking at Aidan Flint. I'm looking at Jamil Matt, who has put a few past us over the years. I mean, quite how hard of a game is it going to be?
It's going to be tough. And there's also, his name's gone out of my head, the midfielder who played for Sutton before he joined them, scored against us. Oh, what's his name? Someone help me. It's three here. Come on.
I know the guy you mean. Yeah, I do know the guy you mean.
He scored the opening goal last year when we beat him 2-1.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a good player.
Not jealous, was it? Jealous? No, not jealous.
No, not jealous. No. Anyway.
Comment below.
Yeah. Always
So you get the hang of it, don't you?
So it is a tough game. They can be got at. Teams have scored against them. Newport had some joy against them. And Newport bottom of the league, but they didn't have the organisation and the wherewithal to sort of hold on to it. And I think we do have that, especially if Flanagan comes back in. So it is a tough game, but again, we keep on saying it's a game. I think we're more better. It's a better game for us to play than the Bromley game. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Ashley, just to sort of round it off, we're also playing
Lakin.
Try Lakin.
Oh, that feels better. Sorry, that was.
We're also playing a side that have got a few ex-Col-U players. There's 2 ex-Colchester United players in the current Walsall squad. Can you name who they both are?
Is this just Ashley?
This is just Ashley. Yeah, everyone else be quiet.
I know one. Trying to think.
One's a goalkeeper.
I do.
Yeah,
know.
it's the
I know that
James, mate. No, sir. What's his name? The guy he went to Chesterfield. He had a trial at Chesterfield, didn't he? Guys, what's his name? Hornby.
Sam Hornby. Yeah. Sam Hornby is one of them. The other one, defensive midfielder.
Yeah, Comley.
Brandon Comley, yeah, absolutely. And I very much doubt we'll see Hornby. They've got a keeper on loan that's played most of their games thus far, but I'm sure he'll be on the bench providing valuable assistance to the team in a similar way that Tom Smith does for us. And Comley, very dangerous at breaking up play. And they've obviously got Daniel Kanu as well. They've got their own loanee from Charlton who is doing bits for them. But we'll look ahead specifically with our predictions. Si, what's your prediction for the game on Saturday?
I agree with Dave. I think it's going to go better than we envisioned, purely because the pressure is going to be on them. They're going to go at home expecting to walk it with us with our injuries and how our last 2 games have gone. So we're going to go complete Col-U and we're going to draw 1-1, and it's going to be a well-earned point on the road.
And the goal scorer?
Good win.
Good win. There we go. You were never going to say Tavido, were you? Dave, who are you going? What are you going for, and who are you going for as the goal scorer?
I'm going to be quite boring and say 1-1 as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more of my heart than my head. My head feels like we might lose 2-1, but I think we can get out of there with a point. And I'm going to say Jack Tucker's going to get back on the goal trail from set piece.
I like it. Ashley, what are you going for?
I'm in that negative mindset at the moment after the last couple of games. Even though the performances haven't been horrendous or that bad, I just feel that we're lacking something. It's going to be difficult to go there. But I mean, as long as we don't get spanked like we did last year, one of them 12 Sky games, wasn't it, last year? I think it will be. I think we'll lose narrowly 2-1. I think, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did go up there and get a result.
Yeah, definitely. 2-1 defeat. No, fair enough. I was going to go for 1-1, but obviously it just looks like I'm copying now. So I'm going to go. The U's are going to win 2-1, and I think Tucker will score. I think we'll get a goal from a set piece. I'll go Arthur Reed. I'll go Tucker and Reed. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable one. Si, Dave, Ashley, it's been lovely to chat to you, and hopefully my prediction is right and everyone else is wrong. And I look forward to chatting to you again soon.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
Have a good one.
cheers,
Thank
mate.
you.
Cheers.
And there you have it. That is another episode done and dusted of the Beyond the Barside podcast. A huge thank you to Si, Dave, Ashley, Mark and Harley. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave us a nice review if possible. And over on Spotify and Apple, 5 stars really do go a long way in supporting the podcast. Thank you very much for listening and up the use. Cheers.